Hiya, welcome to day 22. Hoping to get through this one without anybody knocking on the door. I'm actually really not very well today, so if I look like hell, that's why. But today I wanted to talk about plank, but actually not specifically about plank. The thing that I was thinking about was that often people say, I can't really do yoga because I'm not very good at putting weight into my hands, and that is a thing. But what I wanted to do was just to talk a little bit about a way that you can mitigate against some of that, because often actually when we learn the correct way to load our weight onto our hands, that can help. So I thought it would be worth exploring that, and we'll talk a little bit about plank. So when we talk about coming into plank, what I'm mostly going to do is talk about half plank, because that's a lot easier to manage. And I think tomorrow I'm going to look at downward dog, and there's a similar thing there, that what we need to do is think about how we are placing that weight so that we're not putting too much strain on our wrists, which is a real thing. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to sort of show you. The first thing is that we always talk about having our hands spread nice and wide, and what we try and do is think about having most of the weight into this part of the hand, so we're sort of gripping with this part of the hand. But what we're also doing is that we're pulling up, we're almost pulling up and away from our hands. And the best way to show you that, to explain that, is to show you, because what that then does is that it's spreading that weight away from your hands in a way that makes things more manageable. So what I'm going to do is show you, if I just put my weight into my hands in plank, can you see my back? I've got my knees down in this plank, but all of my weight is into my hands, and I can really feel that. I have got my hands spread wide, but all of the weight is into my hands. So what I'm going to do now is to show you what we're going to do. We're going to do what's called protracting our shoulder blades, which is just bringing our shoulder blades together. So what we actually do, if you think about pulling away from your hands and lifting up, and can you see that? Can you see how my back was dipping down, and what I'm doing is I'm pulling up, and actually I can already feel the difference in where the weight is distributed when I'm in that plank pose. So, and we can do that when we do a full plank as well. I haven't got a brilliant amount of room, but when we come into full plank, again, I'm pulling up. So there's my shoulder blades dipping, and there's them protracting. And what that then means is that I'm not putting all of that same amount of weight into my hands. So I'm just going to show you a couple of things that we can do in a plank. I'll come this way because I've showed that to you now. So I'm going to come right back, and I'm coming into that plank with my knees down. I'm pulling that weight up, and actually something that I quite like to do is to just gently rock backwards and forwards. And that starts to get you used to that feeling of having the weight in your hands. There's also something that's called chaturanga, which is when we go part way down in a plank. And full chaturanga would be with my legs out behind me, but again I'm going to show you how we do that. So I'm going to pull my weight up away from my hands, and then I'm going to keep my elbows in. I'm going to bend my elbows, I'm looking straight ahead, and then I'm going to push back up. And sometimes often we use chaturanga to go to a cobra. So I'm going to bend my elbows, keeping them right in to my side body, and then I'm going to lower my legs, and I'm going to push up into a cobra, into that really nice back bend. And we can also come into a side plank, and we can do that with one knee down, which is a much less intensive version of it. So I'm going to put my right hand into the ground. I'm turning my left knee out so that my left foot is straight behind me. I'm going to put my right hand down and take my left leg out so that the blade of my left foot is into the floor. I'm going to raise my hand, and what I'm trying to do is lift my hips as much as I can, but because I've got my left foot down, I haven't got the same weight burden into my right hand. And then I'm going to come and do that on the other side. So again, that right foot is behind me, that knee is bent, stretching out my left leg, bringing down my left hand. Sorry about the angle there, but you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to come back. So, as I say, we'll probably discuss downward facing dog on one of the few days that we've got left before we finish, but just think about that weight distribution. You're not just dumping all of your weight into your hands, you're spreading your fingers wide, and then you're doing that active pulling up through your shoulder blades. And you can feel the difference. When I'm here, I can feel all my weight in my hands, and when I pull up, I can feel that burden move partly into my shoulders so that I'm sharing that load. And I hope that helps. It's a bit technical, but I thought it might help because I do often hear people say, and I'm sorry I look like not very well, but I will see you tomorrow. Namaste.